ready, and we're going to start off by talking about a very important aspect that all of us should care even more about in our Indian context, perhaps. I'm talking, of course, about road safety, safer cars for India, and it's something that we have been speaking about here on CNB quite consistently now for some time, because really the key is awareness, or the lack of it here in India anyway, because people don't seem to always know the importance of something as simple as wearing their seatbelt. Now, two car makers are also getting in on the act and talking the same language. Take a look.
The growing number of vehicles and the resulting traffic snarls on Indian roads are a common sight, but there is another rising trend that's quite alarming. The road traffic fatality trend in India is expected to reach 250,000 by 2025 from the current 140,000. So there is an urgent need to boost awareness among every stakeholder, from the government to vehicle manufacturers, to do more and just talk about the importance of road safety. Swedish auto major Volvo is looking to play its part by showcasing safety installations to educate people about the basics of car safety.
When you're sitting in a car, be it the front seat or the rear seat, you will need to be strapped in the seat belt.
Users often ignore or are not aware about lateral speeds and the damage it can cause if safety precautions are overlooked. This isn't just any stack of chairs, but it is to understand how injuries can be caused even at low speeds. A fall from the first chair at 30 km per hour will cause the same damage as a fall from the 8th chair. So wearing seatbelt in city traffic is as crucial as out on the highway, because it restrains the passengers and absorbs the energy from the impact.
For some time now, we've been talking about the relevance of why safety should become an important consideration here in India, for you, for me, and indeed for the government as well. We're going to continue to push that agenda for you here on CNB, and today we've got a very special person joining us to speak more about this. Lotta Jakobsson is joining us from Volvo. She is the safety expert for Volvo globally. It's good to have you here in India.
Thank you.
I know we have a few exhibits here, so maybe we could just walk through. I know a lot of people are very curious and they're looking at stuff, which talks about how vehicle safety as well is something that is just so important. It should be something that people should take more seriously. Do you find that, it's very easy sometimes for us to say that, oh, India, it's a developing market, so people don't understand. But do you find that in many countries, the same level of apathy exists?
Yeah. Now, I think every country has gone through this in different periods of time. I mean, every country has started not using seat belts, for instance, and that was, lack of awareness. So it's not unique for India.
The seat belt, I mean, very often we talk about sophisticated safety equipment on a car. There's radar sensors, there's so much that a car can do now, but a lot of times people say that, oh, hang on, that's just too that's too expensive, I can't afford all that. But a safety belt, I mean, that's just a basic thing you can do.
It's in every car.
How relevant is it when you're sitting in the front or at the back to wear your belt?
Yeah, it's extremely relevant. We can see that it has an injury-reducing effect of more than 60%. It makes a difference, absolutely, if you're in a crash, and it helps in any crash situation. While all these advanced sensors are targeting specific crash situations, and even an airbag doesn't give you the protection in all crash situations, but the safety belt does so.
This exhibit demonstrates about the weight of a child's head versus the body. In proportion, it is 7 to 8 times heavier than an adult's head, and in a moving car, infants are safer sitting in a child seat in the front seat, rear-facing, with the airbag switched off.
That's how a child feels.
This way, there'll be minimum whiplash injury to the child.
We're still possibly a little while away from having our own NCAP program or anything like it. But airbags, ABS, is that short-sighted to say that at least they should make airbags ABS standard?
Well, that's the baseline since 20 years back, I would say.
So they have to do that?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, airbags and enforcing the belt law and also ABS are basic things in the car.
Now, as a car maker, of course, you can only hope that users actually go ahead and use some of these things that you're putting into the cars. The argument very often is that in developing markets, and in India, of course, we have the highest road death rate, which is a horrible figure to have. But the argument is that the percentage of people dying or the fatalities in car crashes is the smallest number of deaths. And you have pedestrians and you have people on two-wheelers and in buses, which is the higher number. Does that take away from what's happening in the car space in some
I think
senses?
it's still too many in the car. pedestrians and vulnerable road users are extremely important, and actually that's shared with most countries, that the highest number of fatalities are the vulnerable road users. But still, those who die in a car crash in the car,
You could at least stop that.
there are too many. And if there are so simple measures to do it, like using the seatbelt, having good cars, making sure that the traffic is different traffic categories like trucks and cars are compatible with each other, so they're not running over each other, and then separating the traffic categories like pedestrians from the cars, and it helps a lot.
Makes a bigger difference.
The new Safe Roads campaign from Mercedes-Benz India also looks to showcase their latest safety technologies through live demos and exhibits. This multi-city safety roadshow will target largely engineering college students to get them excited about these cutting-edge technologies and spread the safety message.
For Mercedes-Benz, safety is a core value, and that's why we decided not only also to talk about the details of safety on PowerPoint presentations, but also to bring this kind of exhibition with us and to tour across India to different cities in India, and also not only to some kind of places, but like to universities also, to talk also to the young people and to give them an understanding about also the basic principles of safety.
A sample study shows only 16% of drivers and front seat passengers wear their seatbelts in India. This belt slide exhibit shows you in a simulated setting how the seatbelt saves your life even in a low-speed frontal crash. This Mercedes-Benz S-Class is called an experimental safety vehicle, and it showcases the company's future and existing safety technologies. Mercedes-Benz Research and Development India focuses on designing new safety technologies especially suited for emerging markets like India.
The chauffeur-driven mentality here. Luxury cars are often driven by chauffeurs, and the people who own them are sitting at the back. The question immediately comes to the mind, how safe is the back seat? And my engineers were immediately up to the job thinking about it, coming up with technologies that make the back seat, the rear seat, much safer. We have different use cases in the rear seats, and that's where most of my patents and innovative ideas come from. It's about people sitting at the rear seat, it's about children in the rear seat, it's about pre-tensioners of airbags and the belt bags and the restraint systems in general in the rear seats that we are working on, and a large amount of innovations have happened in that space for us already.
Now, Mercedes-Benz and Volvo are still seen as niche luxury automakers in India, and some of their safety technologies might be too expensive for the local volume-driven market, which is why we think that large automakers like Maruti, Hyundai, Hero, Honda need to step up their road safety campaigns aggressively and get the government to push for more stringent regulations.